2019 is very special for us for two reasons. One, we're launching more new product than we ever have in our history. The other is July the 10th will see us achieve our centenary, so a very special event for the brand overall. Centenary for us is very much about looking forward. We've got a very rich history, the last 100 years, we're going to celebrate that, but our ambition is absolutely to shape Grand Touring for the next 100 years, and we have a vision of that, and that's something that we want to introduce on July the 10th. We have two centenary editions. One is the W.O. Mulsanne here. W.O. after our founder, of course, W.O. Bentley. That actually has a section of the crankshaft from the 8-litre W.O. Bentley's favourite car actually within the cocktail cabinet at the rear. So there's only 100 of these worldwide, but with luxury it's about authenticity, and I think you cannot get more authentic than that. And the other centenary edition is our GT number 9, after the famous car of Tim Birkin, Sir Tim Birkin, and he drove the development of supercharging with the 4.5 litre, and that car also, it very much is a reflection of our past heritage. There is a small piece of wood that is from the seat from the original car. So again, true authenticity coming through in our special editions. I think there's a great future for luxury cars, but of course the world is changing. There's this move towards electrification overall, and that is absolutely relevant in the luxury segment as well. By 2025, the middle of the decade, we would see we've electrified in one way or another every nameplate in our range. Demand for Bentley is very, very strong, and as we launch new products like the GT convertible, we would anticipate that we see further improvements going forwards.
For me as a designer, a Bentley is about evoking a spirit or a character more than lines itself, but of course on a car like the Continental GT we have very rich and definite design DNA. So for example, if you look at the car from side view, you can see the two defining lines on a Continental GT, the power line, which is the line that comes over the front wheel and into the body, and then the haunch, which is sat over the rear wheel, and we call it the haunch because it's inspired by when a big cat is ready to pounce and it's on its haunches. So all of these elements help to define a Bentley, but ultimately it's about a beautiful sculpture that feels like it's been carved from a solid block. The Continental GT is a very special car. It has a very special character. A big responsibility as a designer to usher that forward into the future. It's about taking the elements that you believe are important to the Continental, so the purposefulness of its stance, the muscularity, the presence, the dominance, the width. All of these are elements that you can play with. I think the important thing for a designer was to execute it in a much more modern way. For example, you take the front end of the car and you have all the typical Continental elements, so you have the matrix grille and the 4 round headlights at the front, but they're executed in a much more modern way. They sit much lower and much wider, very flush into the surfaces. So it's about taking the elements that make the Continental special and bringing them forward for the new generation of cars. If you imagine Bentley as a brand that makes a car for Her Royal Highness the Queen, but also races at Le Mans. We have that bandwidth in our brand. No other brand can do both things. Maybe some can do one or the other, but we're the only one who can do both. So the potential for different products is completely blown open at Bentley. The question of whether it's a baby Bentley or a bigger Bentley or a smaller Bentley, and I think it's completely open. It's something that we're open to as a brand.